What is up? This is Joe St. John from AutoFi coming to you live from my house. Joined by Will Cleveland. I got Andrew Austin hopping on in a second. I see people already popping in. What up, Vinny? Rick Fragia, Brock Brom, welcome. Or Brum, sorry, bro. You guys want to say hi in the chat? Chat is live. We're rocking and rolling. What up, Kyle? Craig Cameron, welcome to the call. Good to see everybody hopping in today. Mike Mickett, coming from the great Northeast. We're playing music that you might hear in Connecticut. Thad Bond, holy crap, Thad Bond. What's up, my dude? Long time. Thad and I worked at retail together back in the day. It's good to see you, Thad. See Kristen showing on there. What up, Kristen? Kristen from the AutoFi marketing team. Got a good group joining in. What up, everybody? Amanda, sup, gang? What up, Amanda? How are you? I'm going to give it about one more minute, and then we're going to kick off and get started. Let y'all listen to my music for a couple more seconds. Stretch out, get myself ready. More people jumping in. Brad Allen, how are you, man? David Anderson, good to see you, David. Greg Robinson, long time, Greg. How are you, man? If it's the same Greg Robinson, may not be the same one. Will, how you liking my music, bro? Yeah, I knew you'd like this one.
Digging it.
All right, we got a good group going. It's 12:01. I'm gonna pause the music and I'm gonna get us kicked off, y'all. So happy what is it, Thursday today? Happy Thursday, everybody. It's good to see everyone. I'm glad that we're all here together, and I'm ready to get this rocking and rolling. My name's Joe St. John. I am the Chief Customer Officer here at AutoFi. I know a lot of y'all, some of you I don't. My background's all retail. I started selling cars in 1998, worked through basically every channel in variable ops. I've been at AutoFi since back in 2016. So from the early days and for the last couple of years, I've been living in the field, working car deals at dealerships. I'm joined by Will Cleveland from the AutoFi team. Will has an AutoFi shirt on today. That's a recent addition for Will. Well, I'm going to flip it over to you. Why don't you give everybody a quick background on your story, and let's get this thing going.
Yeah, sure. So I started in the business in '96 in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And then my last two spots were Ferguson and Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, where we were one of the first stores to launch AutoFi with the showroom feature, and had previous experience with a couple other digital showroom desking tools that don't anyway. And then moved to the Oaks Group in Kansas City, and we launched AutoFi there as well. And I'm about 60, 90 days off the desk, and just really enjoying it and getting to meet a lot of dealers and seeing what everybody's doing. What I do specifically for AutoFi is I launch stores and then help them afterwards. So really, I get to train salespeople and close car deals. So I'm having a blast.
It's one of the things I'm really excited about having Will on this panel is a lot of times you end up with like the dealer like Andrew, who I'm also really excited to be on here, or the AutoFi guy like Joe. And Will is awkwardly in between those two right now. And so he's got like the mindset of a sales manager who's now living in dealerships as a tech guy. And one of the things that I love was, Will, I think it was your like first or second week, you gave me a call. Yeah. What'd you tell me?
I said, man, I'm so sorry for being mean and dismissive and trying to explain the entire car business to you every time you came in. And because now I'm getting that. It's kind of fun and interesting so for dealers to tell me how to, anyway.
Yeah, Will, it's so good to have you on this team, man. And then I'm joined by Andrew Austin. Andrew is coming to us live from Jasper, Georgia, Tutton CDJR. They have an unbelievable dealership in a town of about 4,000 people, and they are crushing it. And Andrew, your dealership is one of those unique stories that I love about this business. Tell us a little bit about the store you're at and what y'all are doing down in Jasper.
Yeah, Joe, appreciate y'all bringing me on. And it is a little different, man. I started, just to give a quick little background, I started in 2014 at a Toyota store in Marietta. Obviously a lot bigger town than what we're dealing with up here. joined the Boyles group after a few years there. That's how I got in touch with Drew, and Drew's brought me up here since he bought the store. And man, a lot of people probably know this store is Jasper Jeep. This is, I think I'm pretty sure the record still holds today. More Jeeps have been sold out of this building than any other building in the country because of what Mike Lowe and his family created over the last, I think, 50, 60 years. And yeah, like Joe was saying, we're in a small town, North Georgia mountains. We got it's probably a little more than 4,000 now. We're in a dealership. Joe has given me some grief saying it looks like a sauna, but that's what our building looks like. I joke around. We've got a big dual stone fireplace right in the middle of our showroom. We've got American buffalo head on one side, a massive white-tailed deer, and we've got animal heads hanging all over. And that's just where it is, man. It puts customers at ease. We love it. I joked around with those guys, and I do it with a lot of our customers, that it's like a Cabela's mixed with a Cracker Barrel. It gives you that feel, that Camp Lodge feel, man. And, we see it from customers. We've got a history. We had a customer about a couple of weeks ago that bought a car from us in the 90s and was bringing their kid back to buy one from us too. So we've got that longevity. And then for those new customers that we get in the door, they're just in awe when they come walking in the building. I've had vendors come in asking if they can take pictures. Whether we've got World War II memorabilia, we've got the animal heads, the fireplace, we've got it's a different feel and it's beautiful, and that's what I've always said. We're blessed. I tell our team all the time, we're blessed to take over from what Mike and his team created, and we're just trying to put it back on the map, man. And
I love that. I love that legacy, right, yep. Andrew? Like I love the things that make this business special. And one of the things that I'm most inspired about from your dealership is that, like, that building, and that is an investment in customer experience, right? It's a different experience walking in. And I think a lot of times we think of technology as being some like big city metro thing. And it's really awesome to see how much customer experience matters everywhere. And in a town like yours, I'm assuming customer experience is probably even more important because Absolutely. You're running into customers all over the place.
Absolutely. I mean, it's one of the things I've always said with our town. And, I told you a little bit about my family side, just kind of being blessed into this community because my whole family on her side is born and raised here. So you're exactly right. I mean, and that's our town, for example, is a big Facebook community, right? So word of mouth in a small town like that, right? Word travels so much faster than it would in like in Atlanta or in LA or something like that. So, if we're treating our customers right, our community's hearing about it. And then it's stretching out from Jasper into, down into the metro Atlanta area, up north, into the Chattanooga's areas. So we're able to pull customers from all over the place.
Man, that's awesome. So let's start talking about the themes that I think we want to cover in this. So the point of this webinar is to talk through what we're really seeing out there and what's working and what's helping dealers to get a leg up and to really succeed in a market that's becoming more challenging. And the challenges of the market, I think, are all over the place. One of the ones, as guest instructor at NADA Dealer Academy, that I'm hearing really regularly is that it's like the personnel shift or the shift in demographic that we're experiencing in, the people that are retiring and going to be dealer trade drivers, or people that got into the business in 2021 and didn't really understand how to sell cars and what it felt like to have to hustle and grind. And so, turnover is at one of the highest levels it's ever been in this business. And we're seeing real personnel changes at the dealership. I want to ask you, Andrew, at your dealership, what sort of like personnel changes are you seeing?
We are seeing a lot of that, right? The salesman has changed, obviously coming out of COVID, like you said, COVID, you sell 10 cars a month, you're making almost 10 grand, depending on what you're selling, right? We dealt with the over sticker, right, on a lot of the stuff in our market, especially with the CDJR side. But my team right now, for example, we have a lot of youth, right? I would say our average age is probably 25. So a lot of fresh, new salespeople that we're having to put that time in. Me, our GM DJ, Brian Harper, one of our sales managers, we're having to put that time in to train and teach them how we do business and how we like to do it. But that's when the fun part comes in, right? I was an athlete all my life. I played baseball in college, so I've always loved the coaching, teaching aspect. So, for me personally, I'd rather bring in, 2 or 3 fresh, young, we call them green peas, fresh salespeople to the floor so they can learn how we do it, how we do business up here in Jasper, than somebody that may be set in their ways after, a long career somewhere else.
I want to flip over to you, Will, because you had that experience, 90 days ago with the teams that you were leading, and now you've had that exposure, I think, that kind of multiplies what you're getting to look at. Are you seeing a shift in the personnel that are even at your dealership, or now that you're venturing into this, are you seeing any shift in the personnel that you're working with and the what they bring to the table or the challenges that dealers are facing out there?
Well, I tell you what, I had said it before, and now I've heard it from a lot of dealers. They don't feel like their salespeople are as money motivated as they used to be, and there's a challenge that they're having with that, where a lot of skill sets on your current staff have eroded, and then new folks that you're bringing in are just, there is a lot of the stigma behind being a good salesperson comes in with some of your new people, and they're like, well, I don't want to do this bad things, and they think that selling techniques may be sometimes deceptive or confusing, even if they're just, basic things, and as we're using psychology to sell. But um what I've seen with digital retailing tools, or more, I use the wrong words, so I'm still transitioning. Everything I do is awkward, Joe. But a showroom, penciling digitally, basically, or penciling somewhere besides using a pencil and using paper, when you're able to get those numbers out there and there's a feeling of transparency, it helps a lot when they're able to see that kind of thing. I've noticed with younger salespeople, they feel a lot more in control. The customer can pick down payments, they can pick their terms. And what they're revealing through that is a lot of the real objections, which I think with younger people, you've got a younger salesperson and a younger customer sitting across from each other, both want to be liked, and there's no pulling out of any kind of objections. Whereas it sounds kind of counterintuitive, but when when you put a tool like this out in front of them, some of those objections immediately come out. Whereas in the past, we've been afraid to show payments. I mean, anyways, basically, sorry for the rambling. Basically, what I mean is the younger salespeople seem to be nervous about sales techniques and training, and even when you do train them on them, they're uncomfortable using them until they get to use them a few times. And getting these pencils out quickly really allows them to do that. And
So,
yeah,
well, I'm gonna kind of take two pieces of what you
clarify
said
me.
that stuck out to me.
Yeah.
The first one is the lack of like money motivation. There's still people that are money motivated, but I've been shocked. I was at a dealership where the average salesperson is selling over 20 cars a month, right? Like literally they have an average where everyone's selling 20 cars a month. They're all in their like early to mid 20s. Their makeup sounds a lot like yours, Andrew. And I was working the desk there. I had taken it up. We were ready to go. It was a Subaru store. Across the street was a CDJR store. They were going to go look at a Jeep. And I talked them into leaving their trade. It's like, I think we may have a little more money. Leave your trade, walk over there, and then come back. And so I tell the salesperson, hey, listen, I need you to just watch it. They're going to come try to get back in this car. When they do, holler for me. I'll come run out and you're going to get a car deal. And they're like, oh, well, it's like 5 minutes till 5 and I'm off at 5. And I was like, yeah, but we got a car deal. Yeah, but like I've got plans. Like I'm off at 5. I'm like, yeah, but we got a car deal, right? Okay, hey, you come here. We'll split it with this guy. You can be off. I got a car. Like, no, I'm also off at 5. And you're like, and so like you see this like like it's almost like their time is as valuable as the money, which was not how I was raised, and probably
No.
to a way that has caused me a lot of like psychological trauma and sickness and life challenges and whatever. So I think that's one thing. The other thing you said is that a lot of younger people are so comfortable with technology. It's like how they're used to communicating that handing them a sheet of paper with some like Sharpie writing on it and be like, all right, go get them. And like praying that they like magically turn into Don Draper and go like close this guy. Like it seems misaligned to me. And I think it brings this idea that if we're empowering them with technology, that technology, especially in the showroom, needs to feel really easy. And so I'm going to ask you guys, because you guys are both like me, you know how to close a car deal with a like sheet of paper and a Sharpie, right? Like I could trust, like give either one of y'all a pen and be like, all right, go ink them up, and you can put it together and go work a car deal. What has it been like? I'll let you go first. I'll flip it over to Andrew. What has it been like? Because you're at a dealership right now. Your job when you're not on this Zoom is to go out there and start working car deals and shut car deals using technology. What has it been like using technology to close car deals versus using a sheet of paper? Like, what do you feel is different?
Well, not to be cliche, but it is much more collaborative. You'd be shocked how often a customer will take over and start clicking through stuff, how quickly you can get the information out. Um, as a manager, um, even coming out to take a TO, you're right there in the middle of it. And if you've got an idea of where you want to be and what you would normally close, you're all right there. The customer can see everything very transparently. You can, oh, well, here, let's change the term, let's change this. And that way, when they're in that buying mode, as opposed to running back and forth from the desk, you're right there while they're making decisions and can close almost immediately. Um, you know, it is nice with a piece of paper to be able to draw a line through something and write a new offer and get a signature, but which you're gonna use everything together. But when the customer can see the thing changing right there, and they can see what happens if they go 3 more months or 6 more months or whatever, and then I mean, you end up negotiating more with their money, or if you're at a one price store, you're letting them see that there's still options. It's not like, oh, this is my best price, you're done. It allows them to play with everything live as opposed to waiting in line for the desk king to be able to get them out a new pencil.
Andrew, your store, what do you feel like it's changed?
I think one of the biggest things where my excitement really started with AutoFi from sitting on that very first call with you, Joe, when we were just exploring it with Drew and DJ and everybody, to then when the team came in to install. I'll be honest with you. I was telling Brendan yesterday when I first sat on that very first call. I was curious where it fit, right? Because we all know as dealers and managers and stuff, we've got, you got Route One, you've got Viata, you've got all these different systems that you got to log into, passwords out the yang, and I was curious where it fit, right? And then once they came in to install, it hit me day one. The second our guys were here, it hit me day one that this the salesman never has to leave the customer side. They're right there in the pocket with them, just like Will was saying. The collaboration between it really helps solidify the, hey, we're working this thing together. You get to work. Basically, you're putting your car deal together the way you want it to go. I'm just here as your guide to help you step through the process. And so we've seen a big uptick with that as far as being able to collaborate, just like Will was saying, right? Is you're right there. I see it a lot too, right? I'm always walking around the showroom just trying to keep an eye on what's going on. And I was joking yesterday, right? As a former majority of mine was F and I, right? As the old F and I guy, you always had your screen cocked towards you, right? You always had it turned, and your menu was out on paper in front. And so now you come in offices, right? You see the customers got the mouse in their hand, they've got the keyboard in front of them, the screen's turned, and you can see the salesman just coaching them along, saying, hey, you want to see what it looks like at 75? Click right there. You want to see what 4 grand down does? Click right there. You guys want to go ahead and get your approval? 30 seconds, right? 30 seconds to 90 seconds. You're going to see 2 to 3 live approvals, legit live approvals right in front of your face. And so once I finally saw it, and now that we've had it for a few months, man, it really has been eye-opening to be able to control it just like that. And you see the response from customers of, wow, like this is something different. It's not the typical, like Will was kind of hinting at, right? The piece of paper, oh, your offer is 30 grand, get it signed. I got to go talk to the guy, and what's that do? That leaves the customer, especially like you were saying, in the digital age, looking up rates on their phone, looking up other deals on their phone, other dealerships, right? And, it keeps our salespeople in the pocket with them, having those conversations, building a relationship, just like we were talking about our store being a small town. We want to build that relationship, and it allows more time to do that.
I just have to tell y'all, like, I can't express what it means to me to hear you guys talk like this. Will knows this. In the early days of us doing this, I was out in showrooms doing this, and I had this belief because I saw it the way that it changed how the customer responded. And I'm a sales person. Like it's in my DNA. And there was this word track that I heard customers say that I'd never heard before that just like it made me uncomfortable at first because they'd go, okay, I'll do that one. And I'd be like, okay, come again? Like, what'd you do? Yeah, I'll do that one. Oh, okay. Like, all right. I didn't know you would just say yes that easy. Like, I would get to these moments where the customer, okay, put $5,000 down. Okay, do $2,000 down. Okay, do $5,000 again. Okay, go to 72. Yeah, go back to 60. I don't really, okay. What was it at 70? Okay, go back. Okay, let's do this. I'll do that one. And you'd just be like, I'd just be like, okay, let me get stuff printed up. And to me, it's a wild experience. It's very surreal to have this thing that you think is right and know that there are other people out there and then turn it loose. And Andrew, hear you talk about basically what I experienced in the early days of us trying to build this out. And I think that one of the things that I also have as a hypothesis that we're starting to see in the data is that profit's more than just PVR. Like that's the one number we all talk about. And as a GM, you think about like, it's the one that we all show up like, what's your PRU? What's your PVR? And the other lever that NADA, I think Mike Lutsky, who's on here, was a former NADA instructor, and I used to talk about this a lot. The other lever in variable ops is your units per salesperson. It's can I go from an 8-car average to a 10-car average, or from a 10-car average to a 15-car average? Because if I can have each salesperson selling more units, it's like the Chick-fil-A model. Like their productivity becomes more valuable. And I know you're still in the early days, Andrew, but at your store, are you feeling like the capacity for a salesperson to get more car deals is higher now than the old way? Or do you feel like you're trending in that direction? What are you seeing?
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, we are just a few months into it. But to your point, the biggest thing I've always seen, just me personally, since I've been in the business, and again, it's only been 10 years, so I'm not one of these lifers yet, but I will be. But one of the biggest things I've always seen personally is speed, right? Everybody talks about it. We all know the stigma of the car dealership, right? There's the bottleneck in F&I. Oh, a customer, I'm going to have to take my whole day, right? If I got to go buy a car, it's going to be 3-4 hours, right? So to your point about the salesman productivity and how much we can see it, we have seen an uptick, right? We've seen some of our guys that were, 4, 5, 6 months ago, they were running 8, 12 units, right? They're up in the 15, 16 range. And you're seeing that because of the speed, right? How quickly you're seeing, like we were talking, you see a customer agree to the numbers right there. Within seconds, you're in a credit app. Within seconds, you're in an approval, and they're seeing legitimate rates right in front of them. Barring all the LTV and right the hang-ups, which are there as protection. But if it's an 800 beacon, low LTV deal, they're going to see legit numbers within minutes. And how quickly can we get them in and out? And that's what I try and preach to our team is I want to bring as much technology into this dealership as we possibly can, even though we're in a small town in North Georgia. I want to bring as much tech as we can because I want customers to see there is another way. I want my salespeople to realize it's very simple to get deals done. It's very easy, right? Whether it's our CRM, whether it's our desking tool, whether it's our F&I process. I want our team to buy in that, hey, if I do my part, I have more time. I can sell 3-4 cars a day because of the speed, right? So I have seen that a lot, right? And we are trending in that direction and just getting more and more buy-in. And then we haven't even touched on, the digital showroom outside of the physical one in the building. Being able to talk a customer through that doesn't want to come to the dealership just yet, that we can do the same exact thing while they're sitting in their couch. They could be sitting there watching a football game on Saturday and get their whole approval done. So when the Georgia game's over, they run in 45 minutes later, they're signed and they're out the door with their brand new car.
To me, there's what I love hearing you talk about, Andrew, is basically you're building systems and processes that deliver the same type of customer experience that your building represents, right? You're putting together the things to make buying that like souped up, hard loaded Jeep from your store feel like what the customer would want that experience to feel like. And whether that's sitting on those leather club sofas with a Coke by a fire in the middle, or it's sitting in their living room because they're in between Zoom calls, slacking or messaging your person. like that flexibility feels like it aligns to a value set you have as a dealer. The other thing I wanted to call out, and this is something Will said earlier that stuck out to me, and you've kind of alluded to it as well, Andrew, and I don't want to go completely off track,
Yeah.
but with new salespeople, you know, when I was hiring new salespeople and I was a sales manager, I was the sales manager that was in charge of like hiring everybody, and then they were on my team. And then when we were at the high volume Toyota store doing, you know, 400 or 500 cars a month, so we had a lot of salespeople. So I'd have, you know, 5 to 10 new salespeople. They would be on my team, and then once they kind of progressed, they would go to the other teams. And it always felt like to me, the one thing that they all struggled with from the jump was negotiating a car deal, like training them to go get somebody licking the paint off of a car or to teach them how to do a killer walk around. Like those were the easy things to train. And like I had this salesperson, her name was Alicia Scott. She was a sniper, like she was amazing. But she would always be like, okay, hey, will you take my numbers out? Because she would have them in love with it. And then just that part is so intense and stressful. Do you feel like the technology is alleviating at least some of the stress of that? Does it still feel the same, or is it more like, no, 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 I got this now. I'm just going to show them and let them do it. And if I need help, you know, Andrew will come out and help me. Do you feel like it's changing any of that at all?
I do. You know, I think you're right. And to Will's point that he made earlier, right? You know, a new salesperson, especially in this, you know, in this modern day, feeling, you know, deceptive, right? I think that was the word he used, right? We all know negotiating car deals. We do have that little, you know, is this legit? You know, are we doing it? Even if it is something simple, and it's hard, right, to teach that to somebody who doesn't see it the way we've all grown up, right? Well, we're coming in, you know, iron fist closing, you know, the old school method. But I have seen it alleviate a lot, right? Of where people are, a new salesperson's less also afraid, nervous, you know, anxious about when it gets to the numbers because hey, it's on the computer, right? And you know, more and more with everything we've got with iPads and phones, your modern consumers used to being able to buy something that quick, right? And if we can, one of the biggest things we talk about is setting that expectation for what they're going to see early in the process so that when we get there, they already have an idea of what it's going to look like on the computer. Hey, we're going to go ahead and build this car deal together. Oh, what do you mean by that? Just wait till I show you when we get inside after we make sure this is the right vehicle for you. So we have seen a lot of that come off. I've got two brand new salespeople right now, just got out of training last month. This is their first full month on the floor, and you've seen it with them, right? Getting used to the technology, but now when they go to sit down in front of a customer with AutoFi pulled up in front of them, it doesn't seem as nerve wracking, right?
Yeah, I love that. So Will, part of your new job is you're in stores like you're in today, and you're
Mhm.
tasked with being at the desk, helping the managers, working car deals, like working the desk, as an AutoFi representative, helping to show and how this works and to like help other managers work car deals and learn how to use AutoFi for that. I think one of our um, belief systems at AutoFi is that being a manager is harder today than it was back when I was a manager because there's so much stuff piled up on you, right? You're doing dealer trades, you're submitting car deals, you're bidding car, like you've got all of these things kind of coming at you. And one of, I think, our hypotheses or our beliefs is that like if the 80% of the car deals or 70% or whatever it is that are kind of the fairway deals, if I can let those run with me having to pay less attention to them, I can allocate that attention to that like 20% with some hair on it that I'm like, okay, what do we got? I got 520 score. I got $1,000 cash. Let's figure out what car to get them on. Like I can focus on those tough ones. Working the desk now in even 6 to 9 weeks, so 6 to 9 different dealerships. Will, do you see that once managers kind of adopt it and make that mental shift and start to let go of some of the control on those middle deals, that they're finding time to allocate to more important things like Andrew said, you know, coaching, training, developing? What are you seeing, Will, out in the world?
Typically, yeah, and I saw it when working in a store. It shocked me how, yeah. I when I'm talking to dealers now about AutoFi specifically, obviously, uh, I tell them treat it like your most junior sales manager. He just got his logins. He's excited. He was promoted yesterday. He knows how to push the button and send the credit out to the bank. And then after that, if there's not an approval, he's come to get you, or he doesn't know what's going on. But that guy's still, um, is a big help in alleviating pressure on the rest of the desk to dig in and get those tough deals. It doesn't it change. I mean, I do see guys kind of get threatened. Well, what am I supposed to do? You promise you're gonna have plenty to do. We're flying through 800 credit scores with no trades, and those will blast through. The tougher deals, you're still going to have to work. There's stuff we can do inside Auto-Fi, and then your traditional stuff is going to have to happen. But I think the biggest shock moment I always get is when a weak salesperson comes wandering up that is either intimidated by their desk or they don't have they're trying to stay away, and they just come wandering up with their front end paperwork and, yeah, I have a deal, this is done. And the sales manager's like, who are you talking to? What do you mean? Well, it's in Auto-Fi, it's done. I'm sorry, I was supposed to check in, but I forgot to check them in, but they want this one. And that happens more than you could imagine. And then so
well, I was at a Kia store in California, and it was like, so Andrew, when you're out on the road, like Will and I have been for a long time, being at the dealership till 9 o'clock isn't that bad, because the alternative is I'm going to go to the Spring Hill Suites and like eat a hot pocket from a microwave and go to bed. And so you'll find guys like Will and me and our team that we'll just hang out. Yeah. And I was there, it was like 8:30, and the salesperson comes up, who was like the prototypical like weak stick, and you're like, oh, hey guys. And he comes to us like, all right, boss, I got a deal. And the manager's like, all right, so what do we do? And he's like, no, I've got a deal. He's like, okay, so what do we do? And he's like, no, it's done. Like, I've got the paperwork printed. It's all closed up. They took the Chase deal and we're good to go. And it, 0 discount on the front end, holding 2 points of rate, and the salesperson just showing up with a packet. Like, those moments blow my mind. Like those, Andrew, your store, are you seeing any alleviation from the managers of the, like, I have to look at every single deal all the time, always, all the time, to now like, okay, that one's good, let's go. We got this one. Hey, how can I help you? Are you seeing any of that yet? Or are you like starting to get to that place?
We're starting to get there, and I think you hit the nail on the head, Joe, is let the easy ones be easy, right?
Yeah.
Why? I'll do probably 90% of the submitting for our store. If it is one that we got to get our hands on, right? If it's not that 800 beacon, 70% LTV, 60 months, no trade, easy deal, right? But that's the way I looked at Auto-Fi's, and DJ, our GM's right there with us, is let the easy ones be easy, right? Why should we make it harder? We've got somebody, even if it is a discounted car, right? Hey, here's what our price is. We're taking, $6,000 off a Grand Cherokee. Let's see what your numbers look like. Oh, 800 credit, bam, Chase approval. Let them be easy, So then again, right? Like you said, there is so much, right? We're a smaller store, but we've got DJ, the GM, bouncing all around, talking about responsibilities with service, everything like that. Me doing CIT, we all know what it is. It allows that time. So when you go in there, right? Salesman, our big thing is stay in the office just to stick with that customer. Pick up the phone. Hey, Miss Johnson's deal's in Auto-Fi. Can you double check it for me? Bam, 2 seconds. If you need to put a new book value, whatever it may be, all right, call them back. Yep, you're good. Go to work. And then you can just kind of space that one out, right? Until you get that text notification that says, hey, LTV's held up or credit's held up. But then a lot of times, you're right, we haven't seen a huge amount, just because, again, being new with it. But we are seeing those ones where, like you said, salesman comes up, here you go. Yeah. They're ready for finance. Okay. Which one?
So you bring us up, and I want to hit on this, because I think there's 2 things that are important to call out here. One is it takes a bit to get there, right? When we do a launch, I'm shocked at how many people are super fired up and then they just collapse. Because like, man, well, like, we got to, like, it's extra work. It's not extra work. It's different work. So it feels extra for a little while. And then once you get on the other side of that, it frees up time. The thing for me that you said that I felt that I haven't heard in words yet, I was working the desk at a dealership. We'd been using Auto-Fi there for a few months. This was in the early days. And one of the things that the dealer had come up with, it was a process shift, which we now teach, is touch the desk before you go on the test drive so I can have your deal ready when you get back. So it's a busy Saturday. I'm in like Valencia, California, working car deals. Salespeople would touch the desk. I'd build their deal in Auto-Fi, get it the way I want it, move that on, and then I could just go on to whatever else I was doing. And when they came back, they're working their car deal. I'm not doing it in the moment of the battle when there's 5 people standing in front of me waiting for pencils. I'm doing it on my schedule, getting it ready. And like you kind of used your hands like this. That's what it felt like. It's like putting it on the side. Now I'm done. I can move on to the next thing. And then they're not waiting on me to do it. When they get back, it's ready to go. I think that's a real powerful thing from the manager's perspective. Will, how do you help people get over that feeling of doing something different? Like, how do you help them believe that there is that other side?
Um, well, I mean, the biggest thing is repetition and showing them a few times and getting in there. So when I come into a store, my goal is to find a hard deal to close. And then I find everybody typically starts listening to me after that. So once I get that done and they're ready to listen to the dumb rep that's come in, just showing them how it fits into their current process, showing how we fit into the steps of the sale. Yes, this is a huge thing that's changing. But at the end of the day, and the reason that we don't all just have kiosks out on our showroom floors, you still have to have people, you still have to have steps, you still have to have salespeople and managers and finance guys doing the thing. And so what I like to show them is, hey, look, it fits right here in what you're currently doing, touching the desk before you go on a test drive. Let's throw this in here real quick. And then where the buy-in really comes is when we see how much easier, and I know this isn't exactly what you asked, but it's on my ADD brain, how much more effective a first pencil is, meaning, and how much better those come out. Because all of us, even myself and Joe and Andrew, I'm sure you've dealt with this, and every manager on this call, you have a salesperson that comes up to the desk and they're like, man, we got to beat this credit union and we got to do this and we got to do that and this and that. And I am at least willing to admit that sometimes that has affected how I send out my pencil. When I'm just throwing something in there or making sure my trade value's in there and I'm going with the defaults that we've set, right? I don't have to literally go in there and type something in and then be responsible if this pencil goes out and then everything explodes and I got to run out there. Um, the effect of anchoring and putting folks, just showing them and letting them do what they want. Your first pencil comes out stronger. I'm just telling you, is what I'm trying to say in a very long way. And then you'll be shocked. This guy, and it happens in every store. Andrew, I'm sure you've seen it. Joe, you've seen it all over the country. And every single launch I've been on so far, and my stores, I have like 3 or 4 examples a piece where customer came in. Well, I got 5.9 in my bank, or whatever that story is. Well, hey, would it be a bad idea to see what some of our national lenders can do? We could use this tool. And have you ever heard banks compete you win? Blah, 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 blah. Let's push this button, the basic information. Click that, click that. Our approvals pop up, and you've got Chase, Bank of America, and the captive. And Chase is at 8.9, Bank of America is at 9.9, your captive's wherever. And the customer goes, all right, yeah, let's go with Bank of America. What? What? Well, Chase is cheaper. Yeah, but I have Bank of America. It's on my app. My wife's car's there. I can literally just click and pay it there. And I'm only going to keep this loan for like 6 months. So I just rather it be easy. Let's just do the Bank of America call. And so we anchored them in a place. We showed them an offer that we may have been scared to show them in the first place. And we uncovered a black swan, which, I don't know. I love Never Split the Difference. Anybody that sells should read that book. But we uncovered a hidden objection or a hidden reason for them to buy, that he's got the Bank of America app. So he just wants to click his thing. So anyways, I know it's not exactly what you asked, but
it's so crazy to me that you said it, because I now know how much, not how much, but I left so much money on the table as a sales manager. Like, I'm so confident now because I would have this customer that was using Tulsa Teachers Credit Union, and I had to beat 4.9 to get their business. And so like I'm trying to come up with a way to beat it. How many of those now have told me when I'm working a car deal, well, I got 5.9 through my bank. Great. And you pull up and it's 7.9, 8.9, 9.9, and they just choose the 7.9 and they just go that route. They didn't really have 5.9. They were just telling us that because they read some, blog article of buying a car. It's pretty wild to think through that. One of the things that you said, Andrew, that stuck out to me is the guardrails, right? So that like the guardrails in AutoFi to make sure that the 500 score isn't going to the bank or the 155% LTV. How do you feel like that impacts the like sales manager mindset of letting salespeople have a little bit more control? Does it make them feel safer with that, or is it? Do you feel like it's just that there's a feeling like they can't really screw it up, or are you still worried they're going to screw it up?
Not really a worry. Obviously, I like it, and I like that we get notified and it goes to everybody, right? So if it is where, if I'm out appraising a car and Brian's on the desk and I may have started it in AutoFi, he's still getting the notification, so he can jump in and keep that deal moving, right? So we can keep the speed in. Guardrails wise, really, I think a lot of ours when we get hit by the guardrails is user error. So I've been talking to our rep about trying to tweak a couple of things just as far as how income gets put in. We had one the other day. Again, salesperson put it in, misunderstood the salary, and all of a sudden it gets. I actually knew the customer, right? You talk about our store customer whose family's bought like 8 cars from us in the 3 years we've been up here, right? The whole family, just one of those that we're blessed to have. And so I knew the credit file from deals prior, and so I'm like, all right, this should be easy, right? This should be a layup. And all of a sudden, I get the notification on my phone that it's been held up due to LTV. So I go in and look at it. It's at 364% LTV. Or no, sorry, PTI. PTI, it got held up at 364%. And I'm like, how did we do this?
It makes $1,000 a year.
Well, that's exactly what it was. It was put in. She's buying a $60,000 Grand Cherokee, and she put in that she makes $3,200 a year. And I'm like, okay. Yeah, no wonder it got held up. So it does help in cases like that because then it's simple to, right? You push it over as cash, it goes into Route 1, and then we can attack it the way we need to, right? We can go in, have the question, is this real income? Is this gross? We all know how to get out of that. But it does, while you're still able to kind of move your brain away from just locked in, focused on that, you go back to doing what you're doing, buying cars, whatever you're doing. And then when you get that notification with the guardrail, it's like, all right, cool. Let me lock back into this. Something happened. Something flagged it. Let me look. So it does give you that, ability to still kind of take that deal off your brain until you're needed to kick in.
To me, it's Will, I was at a dealership that you have a good relationship with that you used to work at. And I walked into the finance director's office and his son happens to play baseball with my nephew. So I go in, hey, how was yesterday? Man, it was awful. We had one car deal at the GMC store and we didn't sell anything on it. And they still use the paper log like I used to use when I was in F&I. So I roll over there and look, and they didn't sell anything on it, but it made $1,700. And I was like, how? And then I pull up the deal. It was in AutoFi. It had full rate markup on a full finance deal. And so it went back there with that room. And so my question, Andrew, because you still have traditional F&I at your store, right, Andrew?
We do not.
You do not. So
No,
tell me how you're handling F&I.
So we are doing it as managers, right? We're myself and Brian and DJ are the main ones, and we're gonna paper it up and we're gonna menu right there. I saw some of the questions looking at the chat on the side, right, asking about the F&I side.
Yeah.
And like I said, my whole background before this was predominantly F&I. And so we are not. We tried. So we had an F&I manager, just didn't work. We tried to go to like basically a finance admin where we would do all the closing menu presentation all at the desk, and then basically like a mortgage, you go back to the back, she's sitting there, signed paperwork, tag, down payment, gone. That one didn't really flow just because it still slowed it down. So we've gone to the point now with e-contracting, we're moving over to Darwin One Sign to add in some more speed with all the docs there. So we're really running our F&I straight from the desk. And
so salesperson closes on a payment, and then you go out and hit them with a menu, review the options, let them choose what they want, and then do your signing ceremony right there.
Correct.
Wow. What's crazy to me is I'm hearing more and more and more dealers moving towards that model and having really good success in both PVR or PRU or whatever you want to call it, and attachment rates. And that what we're seeing with AutoFi specifically is putting that menu in front of that customer in AutoFi and just letting them choose. The customer chooses a silver package right off the bat. I've got my rate held. I'm holding my card together on the front end, and they're picking out a package. And then if a manager comes out and does a quick discovery and shows them why stepping to the gold or the platinum might make sense, we're getting some of those attachment rates and some performance level at dealers that are doing it in a model like that. When dealers would talk about your model, they would describe it as a single point of contact model, but I don't think that's true. I think it's there. I've never seen a true single point of contact. What you have is salespeople selling everything, and then managers coming out and supporting them on the showroom with that kind of, I would call, like high value selling asset layered on top to move that customer up. It's like Kevin A from the Bakhtiari group that's on here. That's how they do it. They have salespeople, and if they don't get basically everything, then the sales manager is out there who's also kind of the F&I manager, then upselling and working that car deal.
So that's one area we haven't gotten into yet, is actually having products and everything in AutoFi. Just because the only reason we hadn't is just because of the youth of our team right now. Just didn't really want to overwhelm with all the changes, right? Of adding, as soon as we add AutoFi, like what we were talking earlier, bog everything down with adding a new step for somebody. You talk about your typical green pea salesperson. Do you really want them having a conversation about a warranty that they don't know what it is, right? They just learn that cars have warranty. So we haven't gone to that step yet, but with using Darwin, we're able to get it in front of the customer within minutes of them. So we're not as fast as we could be with Darwin or with using AutoFi, but we're not that far behind using the Darwin menu on iPad, right, or paper even right behind it. One of the things I did want to hit on that Will, and this is real deal for us, that Will had mentioned was, you talk about rate, right? The guy who has 5.9 and ends up signing up at 7.9. We actually, so when we first launched with AutoFi, we had decided just to start, because we are up here, we are blessed. We have a very high credit profile on average, right? So we didn't want to really blow people out of the water. So we decided to start, we were only going to go up a point on all of our approvals. Just to, we didn't want to scare anybody, lose deals because of that. Since then, we've now gone back up to the full spread on all of our lenders, changed a couple of our lenders to get more aggressive, but still be able to get that full spread, and we haven't missed a beat. You'll get your credit union guy here and there that, oh, my credit union, right? We all deal with that. But on average, we're still seeing people, I was telling Brendan yesterday, customer the other day, 800 Beacon, equity deal, 84 months. Our local credit union is running that at like 6.5 right now. They signed up, I think it was 8.39, and they were okay with it. They were happy as could be. They're like, yeah, oh, that's what it is. Yep, cool. Let's do that. Could you look to see if you could whittle it down a little bit? So I went in there, shaved it a quarter point. They loved us. They're happy as could be. 84 months are gone. We made full spread.
Andrew, so I was at a very large dealer group meeting a while back, and they were doing, this is not that far ago, it was like in the last 60 days. They were doing a desking seminar where they were training sales manager on desking, and they were pulling up in like their DMS, because that's what they were desking in, the first pencil on customers that bought. So they would look at the PRU and they'd be like, this deal made $483 front to back. Let's look at first pencil. And they would pull up the first pencil, and it would be like 0 down, 84 months, 499. And I hate to admit this, but I've been that weak manager before who knew like I'm supposed to start with like 3 options with like $2,000, $3,000, or $3,000, $5,000, $8,000, 48, 60, 66, whatever it was. And instead I'm like, no, they've told me they're going to freak out if it's over 8% or 5%. So I'm going to show them 499. And you like take what you think is the path of least resistance. And I now realize how many times I was trying to fit my deal into the box that the salesperson told me it would take to earn the customer's business, instead of just giving the customer choice. And the other thing that stuck out to me is I feel like with AutoFi, for me working car deals, they're not mad at me about the rate like they used to be. They're more like, oh, so 7.9's the best I can get from Allen. Well, that's what they came back with. All right, fine, I'll do that one. Like, it's more like they're looking at the lenders as the people giving them the money, not me arbitrarily making a decision for them. I was wanting to ask, like, for you, now that you're doing this, you've been doing it, we got about 10 minutes, a couple minutes left. I think we're getting towards the end here. How do you feel like this is impacting the customer experience, Andrew? Like, what do you like? You're so focused, you're building, you're branding, your community. What's the feedback you're getting from customers when they're going through this process versus what their expectations were?
So, like we said, I've been doing the majority of the, the finance side, signing them up, everything like that. And if we're using AutoFi, that's usually the first question I'm asking, right? Because again, I want to see what it sounds like, right? I want that customer testimonial, whether it's just me and them sitting in the office, or if the salesman's right there with it, it's even better. The feedback we're getting is it's a different way to buy a car. It's something I've never seen before, right? And again, you're still going to have your hangups with credit, stuff like that. But when we get one of the ones that is your perfect AutoFi deal, one of those ones we talked about, let the easy be easy.
Yeah.
The feedback I've gotten is, wow, I can't believe it only took that long. I've never bought a car, or this is, we hear it, whether they mean it or not, or they're just, telling it to be nice to us. Oh, this is the best experience I've ever had. We've gotten more and more of that. And then we're seeing it, obviously with CDJR, we're seeing it on the CSI side too, or the SSI side, in surveys. Best experience we've had. We're starting to get that. And that's where, like I had mentioned, just for me personally, bringing as much technology in, not only to make it easy for us and our team, but I want to give customers something that they can go brag about, right? I want them to see an experience that they don't have to wait 45 minutes because there's 2 deals working, or, you got 3 deals waiting on F&I. No. If I've got AutoFi, salesmen can do their all approval right there. Like you said, they're just running deal jackets up to us. And that's what, again, we're not there yet, but we're still getting to that point. And, the feedback we're getting is a lot of positive. I can't believe, it's that fast. I can't believe I can buy a car and have my approval as quickly as we can. And then the other thing, when you start seeing that feedback from customers, guess who it's going to translate to next? It's going to translate right back to your team.
Yep.
And your team and those people that are questioning it, right, will start seeing that buy-in.
Yeah. Well, you're at a store right now launching. Your first week was last week at this store. They got an immediate like Google review the first day we were there. You can just tell us about that to end us, because I think we're at time. But I just love the fact that it can happen that quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this salesperson was really good about getting reviews, and so we got in, worked the deal. This is a customer. They have a very there's a big credit union. I'm in Jacksonville right now. They've got a ViStar Credit Union is the big boys down here. And customer said, yeah, I've got a pre-approval with them. I think I'm at 6.9. We walked them through the process, did a submission. Santander, actually, in this case, was the lender they went with. They're playing in prime now. And it was about a point and a half higher. And the customer literally said, well, I wasn't really sure that I could get that at my credit union, but that looks pretty good. Picked it from coming back from the test drive to a complete and total approval. We had a trade objection that we overcome very quickly. The salesperson was he knew his stuff. They will explain a tax rebate that they would get, but we were flowing through all that. We had several objections, several things. We're bouncing back in and out of the tool and talking about it. Test drive to sitting down to ready for finance on an approved closed deal was now not a credit union deal. It was about 15 or 20 minutes, and the customer's mind was blown. They couldn't believe that it was that easy. When we got done, they were like, okay, so now what's the problem? What's going to actually really happen? We're like, we're done. You're going to go talk to this guy over here. He's going to show you some options and sign your paperwork. And in the review, that's the customer just mentioned it and couldn't believe how easy it was. And they even said that they're not normally somebody that likes technology, and this was super easy. And yeah, it was pretty cool. And it was immediate.
All right. Hey, Andrew, thank you
Yep.
so much. You're a GSM at a kick-ass store who is doing everything all the time, always. And I know what it means in retail to carve out an hour for somebody. And I want you to know how much we deeply appreciate it. So thank you so much for joining us today. It's been awesome. Will Cleveland, you need to get back there and help them sell some cars. Andrew, anything you want to say before we head out?
No, man, I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all getting me on, and always glad to talk about stuff like this, right? You know, we were talking yesterday. Hey, do we want practice? It's like we're talking about car deals. This is what we do. Let's have fun and talk about car deals and how we can make them faster and better. But no, I greatly appreciate it, man. I've loved ever since we've gotten on the product. I see our team really starting to get that buy-in, and man, we're excited for the future.
Awesome, man. Thank you all so much for joining. Everybody at home that's bouncing off, we appreciate you a whole lot. Let's go put some units on the board, y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.